Oh, it's beginning to look a lot like last season.
Can't stop addicted to the shindig.
Oh, hello, everybody who watched the 49ers, the Barracuda, currently watching Mets Dodgers, and just saw the Sharks lose their sixth straight. You know, I remember winning some money against Hockey Jerk last season when I told him, I'm like, I think they can go 0 for October. And he was like, no way. Well, kids, just saying, 10 days left in this month. Could happen. Ay, 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 ay. Uh-oh. My bad. Hold on. This is on me. I forgot to. It just goes to show when when you're doing the takeover thing, there's so many things you have to pay attention to. And I'm like, whoops, whoops. And oh man, we even got, oh, okay. That's on me. I'll dial it in, people. I swear to God. There we go. How's that? All right. So, good God. I don't think I can do another season of this unless the Sharks get the number one pick again.
Oh, right. I mean, yeah, it's getting pretty rough.
Dude.
It sucks, right? Because I mean, you look at the team. Like, I don't think people were deluded into thinking this was going to be a good team this year. And then it's like, you get the first overall pick, and then he gets hurt right away. So it's like everything still sucks, but you're not getting anything. Like, we were supposed to be watching Celebrini right now, and that's not happening because obviously he's hurt. And obviously we don't want him to come back unless he's healthy. But after last season and kind of dragging into this season, it's like all the little things that you're supposed to be like, yes, but this is bad so that this good thing can happen. And we've been robbed of that except for one game this season.
Yeah. Like, what's the opposite of everything is awesome? This is the opposite.
This is the opposite of that. Yeah.
So, welcome to the original live, unfiltered, unedited, uncensored, commercial-free Sharks podcast, wrapping up your week of Sharks hockey, part of Teal Town, USA. Do the whole like and subscribe thing. Leave your takes in the comment section if you're not with us in the live chat. Do me a favor, the people that are in the chat and that are giving a horse eye to Dodgers Mets, only comment if the Mets end up winning. If not, I don't want to hear it. That's all I'm looking for. Can't believe they're going to make me a fucking Yankees fan for the next couple of weeks. But anywho,
just that's when you cheer for a meteor, man. You don't cheer. You just cheer for a meteor at that point.
Oh my Lord. So the Sharks are now 0-4-2, going 0-3-1 this week. I had a couple injuries piled up there. Oh man, this blows. For a couple people who did ask early on, Jerk ain't here right now because he's got shit to do, but he's gonna dip in from time to time. And for those also asking, we will be talking to Brody later in the week. So I just wanted to pass that along because, and we'll be talking about Brody's replacement in a little while as well. But for those of you who are new here, the way that this works is that when the Pucknologists roll immediately after a game, we start with the game that just immediately happened. So Vanacek got the start. The poor bastard, his name's misspelled on the back of his jersey. I think that should have been a red flag from the beginning. This game was actually rescheduled when the schedule first came out. It was supposed to be played at 1 o'clock today, but then it came out that the 49ers were playing the Chiefs at the same time, a rematch of the last Super Bowl. So it was like, oh, the attendance might go down the shitter for this one. But respect, despite there being the 49ers Super Bowl rematch and the Barracuda playing today as well, Sharks did still pull in 14,000. So I think that's actually pretty respectable considering what was going on around the Bay Area today. So who are the scratches today? It was Giovanni Smith, Benning finally. Who's the third one I'm missing? Because and what's sad is I know I tweeted it out on the Teal Town account.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who's missing.
Who am I missing? Because I thought I had it jotted down, but evidently I did not.
Giovanni Smith, Matt Benning.
Oh, Clem Shady.
Oh, Klim Kostin. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, which to me is a bummer. I don't mind Klim's game when he's playing on the fourth line. When they try to elevate him, I go, I don't know about that. So first off, let's just talk about the, who's in, who's out. We see Will Smith come out. Everybody, collected their breath, I guess, after going, I can't believe he got not played against Winnipeg. He played so well in the game before and blah, 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 in Chicago and yada, yada. And it's like, it was all load management. This was the plan. Everybody calm the fuck down. Eklund.
Yeah, I think if the I was annoyed at first because I thought like, what are we doing? But if that was like the plan, if that's the plan, they just kind of want to load management. It's interesting. I'm really fascinated to see what they're gonna do with Will Smith because,
Don't buy tickets if you want to see Will Smith and the Sharks are on the second of a back-to-back. Just
yeah, well, it's going to be interesting too because like Will Smith contract, like there's a slide on it. If they wanted to, they could send him down to the Barracuda before he plays his 10th game and slide his contract. Now, I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but that is something that I think as the time goes on, and maybe if the points aren't there, and if like I think he has gotten better, and I still think like overall I'm not worried about Will Smith. I think a lot of the conversation around Will Smith right now is a lot similar to the conversation of William Eklund when he first came over to North America. Now, granted, different, there was a different adjustment for William Eklund to make going from the small ice to the big ice to the small ice. Sorry, but like I just think that there's so much talent there that he's gonna figure it out. It's just a matter of when. But as this continues, I do wonder if it's something that the Sharks are considering. I don't think so, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting enough to throw out there.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. Last night I saw Warsofsky at the Barracuda game and for the first two periods. So he's there. He's checking people out. So if somebody exceeds Smith's performance, I mean, we've already seen Will Smith get demoted from the second to the third line. So
yeah, I'm fine with that though. Again,
I'm fine with it as well. But, it's funny to sit there and, you see some group of people going, I'm not that impressed with Will Smith, and other people going, oh, I feel like he's gotten better each game. And, look, it's all subjective for, somewhat. Obviously, stats are going to support some arguments. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Smith go down to the CUDA for a little bit. Again, this is not a team that is going to be, that has playoff aspirations in any way, shape, or form. So, you get me?
Yeah.
Clean, look, again, I don't mind him being deployed in limited minutes if he's there to like kind of send a message, if you will, like he did. Who was the guy from Anaheim that he fucking dropped like a bad habit? He just nailed him on the button and so either way,
Is that the overtime game?
I don't think so. They lost 2-0 and gave up an empty netter, so no.
Right. No.
But anyway, Clean fucking just dropped the dude. So
Yeah.
it's, if that's the dollar store version of John Scott, then fine. For the time being, whatever. If you need the that kind of a player in for a particular matchup, sure, whatever. But the Sharks were in need of a bounce back, and they really didn't get it. 1 for 5 on the power play. They did allow 1 power play goal to Colorado. Of course, they got outshot. That's typically that's how the Sharks roll.
Yeah.
I mean, dear Lord, the third period continues to be a nightmare. The last time I rolled the numbers, let's see here, third period, they have now been outscored in the third period 11-2. So, yeah. And they start off with a unforced error getting a hella dudes penalty.
Yeah.
Doesn't take Ross Colton long to bury the biscuit on the power play. And you're like, okay, well, it's only 1. And then 10 minutes later, it's Colton again. And now we're already on hat trick watch.
Yeah.
Especially the way you got behind the D, dude.
Right. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, even the third goal, you're kind of like, how is Buddy free? Like there was no one around him, and just the defense on this team is still terrible. it's bad. There's no two ways around it. It's not a very good decor. The decor is definitely going to continue to be a problem for this team all season. And there's no reinforcements coming for it anytime soon,
Mm-mm.
right?
I mean,
That's the downfall.
yeah, I did see that Muka Madulin has been shifted to day to day. I still don't think that's like, oh, that's gonna be our savior.
Yeah, I like Shakir Mukhamadullin, but I just think like the overall, because like I like Shakir Mukhamadullin. I'm curious to see how he looks getting some regular NHL reps when he gets healthy, if that's the plan.
Mhm.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like you're right. Like he's not that kind of defenseman where it's like it's gonna fix everything.
Mm-hmm. So, in the good news department, Eklund would score on a power play. It seemed like it'd been a hot minute since the Sharks figured out how to score a power play
Yeah.
goal. But of course, this is what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the first two games they kill 11 for 11.
Right.
Then the next three games it's 8 for 15. You're like, Jesus, they go from 100 to 50%, but hey, we got a power play goal. But
I mean, if you go to the box as many times as they did over the past week, I mean, you're playing with fire.
oh,
I don't care how good your penalty kill is. You start taking 7-8 penalties a game, like that shit's gonna blow up in your face.
yeah, I was like, what the hell is going on these last three games at the penalty parade? I don't get that. But also calling out some cool stuff. Dude, the no look pass to Eklund for that roof job, but the no look pass from Granlund, I was like, damn, that's a little Joe Thornton-esque right there. I like that. I like the look off pass. But then who had a beauty fake was Yoel. That's in honor of you, jerk. Kivi Ronta makes it 3-1. That was pretty much all you needed. But at least hey, the Sharks got their first 5-on-3 of the season after giving up their fourth 5-on-3 of the season.
Yeah.
And they got two shots. I mean, they only had it for a minute 10, but they got, two wide shots. There was no movement. Remenda, I thought, was about ready to jump on the ice and start cattle prodding guys, going, move your feet. Because, I mean, dude, for all the talk about compete and everything, there was an awful lot of standing around.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's hard, right? Because if you're not skating hard enough and you're not having the puck, which obviously you want to go back to why so many penalties. Well, it's hard to draw penalties when you're chasing the puck the entire game.
Yeah. So look, and then I think this came from Michelka. The Sharks have missed the net 11 times tonight through almost 2 periods, and I was just like, the San Jose Airhovs have returned. Wallman himself with 4 missed shots. Anyway, Makar would add an empty netter, the second one the Sharks have allowed this season. Yeah, it's just the last 3 games, 8 for 15 on the PK after starting 11 for 11. It's just, for all the talk of it's a new year and blah, blah, blah. And we'll get into that because Warsofsky is hammering that point with the media.
Sure.
It's just kind of, you can give me 2 lasagnas and, one's got sausage, one's got ground beef, and one's got marinara, and it's like, you can tell me that these are different. They fucking smell the same. And that's kind of like what this season and last season, right? So, the beginnings of each, they kind of smell the same. The only difference being is that at this point last season, the Sharks had 1 point. Right now they have 2. So that is a positive, I suppose.
Yeah.
Take that for what it is. And then, of course, this all comes against a goaltender who, what was this, like his first game? Second game? What's his name? An Anonin?
Justus Anunin. I
Anunin.
believe this was his 3rd game that he's played this season.
Okay, well, I mean, Chiefs is moving up the ranks, popping a 962 tonight. 25 and 26, not too bad.
I think that the sad thing about this game was this is as weak as you're gonna get Colorado this season because they've got a bunch of guys banged up. This is when you want to beat this team because it's not going to get any easier as the season progresses. I think as they get because look at they haven't been good to start. Their goaltending's been kind of atrocious, but like that's not going to last. There's too much talent on this team for it to last for a long time. So this is a pretty big opportunity for the Sharks to do something against a very good team, and I don't think they're going to get a better one this season.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this now. I hate being the having to fucking break out the ruler and be the adult in the room. A couple of the people in the chat, just we're all talking about a game, man. It has no idea about who's watched more than you, who spent more money than you, or whatever. Like, I don't give a shit. Be respectful or bounce.
Yeah.
Like, we're all adults here for the most part. So, like, have a little bit of respect and just be adults. I don't want to have to block people. I want this to be a cool place where we can share thoughts, but at least
chat's been kind of crazy the last little bit.
Be respectful.
We need to rein it in a little bit.
Yeah.
I agree.
Be respectful or get the fuck out. I don't think I can say it any nicer. So
we're all friends here.
Yeah. Is anything else on this game? I mean, aside from Vanacek getting his name misspelled, I mean, like that first game against Anaheim, it was kind of like, oh my God, if he'd only gotten a little goal support. And then these last couple of games he started, it's just been yikes. How, and then you see what Askarov is doing down with the Cuda, and you're like, man, this shit's we're gonna be seeing some change pretty quick if that happens.
Oh, I know. They're gonna wreck the only good thing that I have right now.
Oh, I'm telling you, that's what I'm worried about. Dude, it's like, oh, why can't we have nice things?
Yeah, nice thing. Which is fine. I mean, that's the role of the AHL club. But yeah, no, it's we'll definitely get some Barracuda later. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like this game was just it was a game. Like I said, I think it was a squandered opportunity to put up to get a couple points on a team that is as weak as it's probably going to be all year. And I think it was an opportunity for them to try and bounce back. But again, like the blue line on this team is trash, and they don't have a lot of finish right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. The one thing I did also like about tonight's game, through 2 periods, 13 penalties. In the third, no penalties.
Yeah.
The officials are just like, I'm tired of it. Fuck it.
Just let this game end, please.
Yeah. Just please. We want to go see literally any other game at this point.
But I mean, I'll credit the Sharks because I think they played much better after their debacle in Winnipeg.
Yeah, that was horrific. Well, let me ask you this: what do you think about Thompson getting a look tonight?
I like it. I think this is what the Sharks need to do, right? They need to start getting guys some reps. If they're not it doesn't make sense to have a guy like Daniel Gushin or Thompson, like these young guys. It doesn't make a ton of sense for them to be up with the team if they're just going to sit in the press box. You have a whole other team that you can send them to. Right? So I like him getting in and getting some reps. I like the fact that Gushin's gotten into a couple of games, especially for a team that's looking for goal scoring. Now, granted, Gushin hasn't scored yet, but I have more faith in Gushkin putting up a goal than, name your Dellandrea. I mean, even though Dellandrea scored, so maybe a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like,
hey, he had a good look tonight.
I have more faith in a guy like Daniel Gushin putting up offense than a guy like Klim Kostin or Dellandrea, or because they have so many of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You have Cunnin, Dellandrea, Kostin, like they're all the same guy.
You right? Well, dude, I'm starting to think like, oh man, maybe I need to get another bet going with Jerk and like find out how many games will it take, like what's the over under before Cagnoni has more points than the entire Sharks defensive group combined.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting for him too.
He already has more goals.
He does, yes, he does. But that's an interesting thing too because I'm fascinated to see if like him and Haltonen spend the whole because they can go back to junior, like if they're as long as they can go back to junior, I think before the end of December. So I'm not sure. I can't remember when it's the OHL trade deadline is when they would have to go back down, or the Canadian Hockey League trade deadline for the respective leagues. Obviously, Cagnoni was out in the Western Hockey League with Portland. So, what I believe it's the trade deadline for those leagues is when they would have to go back down by. So there's a chance that they could, if something goes wrong with the Barracuda, they can send them back down to their junior clubs.
Dude, Tiger
too.
ain't fucking around, dude. He's like, Kevin LeBanc would be top 5 on this team in scoring right now. Makes me. Does anybody have Columbus's stats handy? Is it like? Yeah, I look at this defense, dude. I mean, you're not wrong.
It's bad.
Yeah, like when Wallman is your number one, you kind of going,
and he shouldn't be like on a reasonable team. Jake Wallman's not your number one defenseman, but he's on this team, which is horrifying. I mean, and that's not even a slight on Wallman, who I've liked for like he's been one of the few blue liners that I've actually liked on this team.
Well, and you know what's funny is I was talking to my buddy last night at the Barracuda game, and I'm like, do you remember that first season that the Golden Knights were in the league, and they kind of deployed this strategy where we're like, you know what, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, that's passe. Instead, what if we just had four second lines, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, the Sharks are trying to employ the same thing. They're like, fuck a 1 and a 2 defenseman and a 3, 4. What if we just deployed 3 pairs of 5, 6 pairs?
Right. Yeah.
3 pairs of 5, 6 guys. Like I feel like that's kind of where we're at this point. Like for all the talent that is in the pipeline at forward, you just like, oh man, when are we going to just get a couple contracts off the books? Let's free up some money and go after a few guys. And obviously with that talent at forward, and then if, Yaroslav is the man, which watching last night seemed to be like fucking hell of an example, my brother. Like maybe you'll see some defensive guys are like, yeah, I want to fucking play in front of this guy. He's a madman,
Yeah.
Like let's get some shit done. All right. So, I mean, any final thoughts on Colorado before we get back to the beginning?
No, I mean it sucked. It was it was a better game than they've played, and it's kind of gotten back to, I think they played harder tonight than they have in the last couple of games. But
that was a pretty low bar, bro.
At the end of at the end of the day, like it's not good enough, right? And I know that, I've been very adamant that this is not a good team, but this is getting rough, man. Like it's 6 games without a win. It's not fun. Like it's not a lot of fun, is it?
Dude, it's not. Darius, my man, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, finally caught a live session, LOL. I would like to see this team resist dumping the puck down the ice and form more plays. Love the show. Go Sharks. Thank you, Darius.
Thank you.
I'm with you. Just again, I kind of go back to, when Remenda was, what the fuck are they standing around for? Let's, and like so it was Chicago and Winnipeg were back to back, right? Thursday, Friday, then they have Saturday off and then Sunday. So it is, third game in 4 nights. Still, I'm just, you're back at home, and I know that this is to be fair, you could almost look at this as the middle of a glorified road trip because they're back out on the road for 4 after tonight's game.
Yep.
So, I guess you can sit there and say, well, 3rd and 4, legs are a little heavy, blah, blah, blah. I mean,
it's October.
It's October, and it's at some
like
point.
I will hear that argument in May, but in like.
When was the last time you saw the Sharks play in May, motherfucker?
May? Yeah, okay. But you know what I mean? Like I will hear that. I will hear that argument in like January. I'm hearing that in October.
Yeah, I ain't here for it. And let's see what this team does look like when Celebrini's back, when Eklund is 100%. Once Smith gets a little more experience under his belt. that could be fun to watch because, dude, Toffoli cannot carry this fucking team for 82 games.
No, I mean, God bless him for trying, but no.
Right? And I'm still, unfortunately, I'm on the boat that says we have seen Couture's last game. So I'm, if you're
until I see otherwise, I mean, that's how I feel too, unfortunately. And again, that's not something I take any satisfaction with.
Not
but it's
at
just
all.
until he is on the ice skating, for real, like,
I mean,
at this point, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I just don't believe it.
I mean, the Meet the Sharks event like a couple weeks ago, I had straight up asked him, is it feeling better? Was it looking good? And he just kind of gave me like this kind of, nah. Like you could tell he wants to play and it's not looking good.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's start at the beginning of the week. Sharks, the 1 point that they did pick up in a Blackwood start at Dallas, 3-2 in overtime.
Yep.
That one, that was Goodrow got a double minor for high sticking, and I'm like, oh, really? We're already going there. Okay, fantastic. And this one, I will say, Wallman and Wenberg, I thought impressed on special teams, but they did go 5 straight periods without a goal. But Toffoli scored his first, of course, now leads the Sharks. But the big notes from this, dude, Robertson with the sell job when he runs into Clean Shady.
See, I see it completely different.
Really?
I know I'm on an island here. Yeah. So I think that I think that NHL players are smart. That was a pick.
You thought it was a pick by Costin?
It was a pick. Yeah. Yeah. I think Costin knew exactly where he was and knew exactly where Robertson was. And I think it was interference. I think it was a pick. I think it was a very well sold pick, but it was a pick nonetheless.
I mean, I could almost, you might be able to. Oh, the new one, everybody, by the way. This say hello to Marvel. She likes to get into trouble. I could. The reason why I could potentially be on board with you is the fact that it was like Douglas Murray, like he was like Wall. Robertson hit him and just bounced off. So it was like seemed like is Clean that strong in his skates? You know,
he's a big dude.
Yeah, but the fact that he didn't move hardly at all does kind of lend, some credence to what you're saying is that, when you move not at all when someone hits you, it really kind of says you were prepped for it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way I saw it. And so I wasn't surprised that I got called for interference. I know that's not going to make me incredibly popular because I know a lot of people are going to scream at me, but I just the way that he no-sold Robinson running into him. I think if he would have sold it more, I think you could have. But to me, the way he no-sold that, it was a pick, 100% a pick.
All right, I said, I think I could be talked into that. It did go into the shootout, and I will tell you, in my mind, I'm going, why the fuck are you putting Will Smith out there to be your first guy? Why do you want to put that?
Because you're trying to get him going, right? I think they're trying to do anything to get him going, and I
disagree
agree.
with that.
I thought it was a smart move, right? Because you never know. We've seen it where a guy can, he scores a shootout goal and then it kind of picks up his play, and kind of gets him going. I think the Sharks are trying to do everything they can to get Will Smith going.
I think they're doing what they can to get him going. I'm a guy who, when I saw it, I'm like, whoa, it's game fucking 3. Why are you putting that much pressure on this kid? If you want to make him maybe the second shooter after, or I don't know. I just thought, for me, I was like, this should be a Lund thing. Granlund, Zetterlund, Eklund.
Yeah, I think with putting him as the first shooter, though, it's kind of like, I can see what you're saying with the pressure, but I think they want the pressure. But at the same time, too, you don't want to put him in too late because then, what if the game's on his stick then, right? And then if you're talking about pressure, and I don't know, I just think they're trying to get him going. I think they're trying to build up his confidence, which I think I think he's looked more confident as the season's gone on. But yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying. Obviously, there's 2 points on the line. You want to send out guys that are more probably proven commodities. But at the same time, I can respect what they were doing with Will Smith there.
And to Dave's point, I'll concede this, that you can get him going by giving him better line mates than Clean Costin, who he was on a line with on that So,
Yeah.
I think that's a fair point. But
Oh yeah, I don't disagree. Like I think, you could definitely give him better line mates, but I think at the end of the day, I don't see. I have a hard time because I think they're really hell bent on playing him at center.
yeah,
I feel
which
like
I
third
mean,
line's
did we
probably
all
the best place to do that.
did we all forget what happened with Hurdle?
Yeah.
You tried to put him there too early. It didn't work very well. Moved him out to the wing, let him get used to it, everything, and then you slotted him back. And then what happened? Basically, became your number one center for a while.
Yeah.
So, like I understand we got to trust the process, but come on now. Obviously, I'd rather see him with like Gushin and Zetterland than Costin and Cunnin, but still.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I don't disagree with that assessment, right? I just think it's hard because you have to also reward the guys that are going to.
Absolutely. But then, the point for me in this game, which I was just like, oh, really, is how good Blackwood played throughout the game and then let in every fucking goal in the shootout. Could not stop one.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like I agree, like obviously shootout's not good, but this is why I hate the shootout, and this is why I'm glad that the NHL doesn't decide real games with the shootout. I mean, regular season games are real games, obviously, but like in the playoffs, we don't go to a shootout. Why? Because it's a one-on-one skills competition. You don't lose as a team in the shootout. It's a one-on-one thing, right?
Yeah.
But without Blackwood, I mean, we can get mad at Blackwood for not stopping a puck in the shootout, but without Blackwood,
you don't get to the shootout.
We're not in the shootout. So, I mean, what do you want to do, right? And like, not to say that like Blackwood had an amazing week, but at the same time, it's like I have a hard time getting too mad at a goalie in the shootout when it's not a game. Like it's a dumb way to end a game.
Yeah, I'm always going to be in that boat. Post game Toffoli with some Nico Sturm like honesties. It just our power play sucks, and I was just like, good on you, dude. Like I'm like, it's just so refreshing to see a player acknowledge the elephant in the room instead of, because I got to tell you, some of the things that I've heard from Warsofsky so far, I'm just kind of like wow, like I think you can, like. I'm not saying Quinn and Bugner were like the most honest guys in the world, but they would at least acknowledge some things. And I feel like Warsofsky, I don't know where he's at right now, but Blackwood admitted direction of the team. They're frustrated. And Warsofsky saying everyone's a little frustrated, but we have to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Like, I think it's really when a team is lost as much as the Sharks have in the past 3 seasons, 4 seasons, 5 seasons, it's really easy to kind of get stuck there. I appreciate what Warsofsky's trying to do, right? Like he's obviously trying to give himself a little bit more of a clean slate to work with, even though he doesn't really have one, because
he was part of part of the deal last year.
He was part of the deal last year. He was there last year, and and it's hard but it's really easy to just get caught up on just like, oh, this is just like last year, right? And then because that kind of thinking, I mean, if you the second that's this is just like last year, so whatever, like then the season's over already. So like I appreciate what he's trying to do, and I think he's trying to put last year in the rearview mirror and try to let this be a new thing. Now, is it a new thing so far? You could definitely argue it isn't.
Well, that's my issue with Warsofsky right now is like, how did last season start? Well, you started off 0-9-1. It sucked. You didn't have a win in your first 10 games. Well, now we're 6 games in. You don't have a victory yet.
Right.
You can't get and especially when you were part of both staffs.
Yeah.
You can't get pissed off when the writers or the reporters or the broadcast people, you can't get mad at them for saying, does this feel like last year? Because the start is the same. And the fact that he's come off kind of snippy, saying, last year was last year. And it's like, yeah, smells a lot like this year though. Like if you don't want to acknowledge again, the elephant in the room, then that's fine. But like, you can't be upset that you're going to be asked that question.
No, I don't think so. I think it's hard because I think from his perspective, right? Like he's trying to preach a message to the locker room. So for him to come out and kind of contradict that message, then why are they going to buy into what he's saying, right? So I think that's the issue. Is
Well,
he's saying one thing in the locker room. He can't come out to the podium and completely, be like, well, this and contradict what he's saying in the locker room, because then he loses all credibility before he starts.
but that's the funny part is I believe it was Nico Sturm has
Mhm.
already kind of like admitted, he's like, yeah, it kind of feels the same on the bench as it did last year. Well, don't like it.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
it sucks. I mean, again, and it sucks because like from their perspective, like obviously I think they tried to make moves to try to make them a little bit better. They wanted to try and insulate the kids and whatnot, and I think they made some moves to try and do that. Bringing in a guy like Wenberg, who has been kind of so for me so far. Tyler Toffoli, who's been money so far, worth every penny they're paying him. But then again, it kind of goes back to what I said at the top of the show. We were excited because like the whole reason we went through last season was to get Celebrini, and then Celebrini plays one game and he hasn't played since. And it's like, so even though we got the prize at the end of the road, we're still waiting to reap the rewards of that prize at the end of the road. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think it's frustrating from everybody. It's frustrating for them because obviously I think, like Celebrini's a special player, and I think he's going to be a really good player in this league, and I think he's going to be the centerpiece of what the Sharks are trying to do.
Has to be.
But we haven't been able to reap the rewards of that yet.
Yeah. Kat in the chat saying, my bet on the Sharks winning at least 23 games is not looking good right now. Remember, they don't have Celebrini right now, so I think they'll get it together. And, there are moves still to be made. At some point, I think Mike Greer is going to say, what if we address the defense? What if we tried that?
Please.
Right? So, let's move on to Chicago. Just blast through this. Smith gets demoted. Well, no, it gets worse in Winnipeg.
I know. You're right.
Smith demoted to the third line. Some standouts from me in this one is just Ruda getting absolutely fucking pylon the first goal.
Jan Ruda's been really bad this year. Like I have been a guy who has defended Jan Ruda on a few occasions, and he is quickly falling off my Christmas card list. And like the fact that they've got him paired with Ferraro's, there's a few things that like the coaching is doing where I'm like, what are we doing here? And Jan Ruda and Mario Ferraro being a pair is definitely high on that list.
Mm-hmm. Despite the demotion, though, Smith did get over 19 minutes of ice time, which was a huge increase over Tuesday, and an obvious show of confidence from Warsofsky. Post game, couple interesting lines, not nearly as interesting as I believe the Jets game, but Grantland saying, we started too slow, we played too slow, chased the game the whole period, 2 5-on-3s. We have to play faster, we have to play better with the puck, bring up the pace, stay out of the box. Now, I appreciate the answers. They're relatively cliche, especially when you look at the next 2 games. It's like, you didn't do any of those things.
Did none of those things, yeah.
Zero. Warsofsky after the Chicago game. We didn't do anything well. Slow start. Couldn't defend. Couldn't close. Couldn't forecheck. Our prep wasn't good enough. Too many penalties. And then, again, what happens in the next 2 games? Like 15 penalties. He's like, all the stick penalties, the trips, the high sticks. Eklund was good, still not on the level he needs to get to. And but on Will Smith, he said, best game he's played, looked more comfortable, more engaged, skated with the puck more, a step in the right direction. But, of course, part of the plan was to scratch him the very next game.
Correct, yeah.
So that's what it is. Then we move on to the Winnipeg game. Blackwood back in net. Second night of a back-to-back, 3 and 4 nights. And the Jets come in at 3-0. And, right then, you're just kind of like, oh boy, we had a really good shot against Chicago. This ain't going to go well. Eklund is out in this one. And, which to me, I'm going, why are these guys even playing? If like Eklund already kind of admitted he's not playing at 100%. It's like, this is not a playoff team.
Yeah, but I
don't
mean,
burn these
unless you're
guys.
like, but these guys still like, I mean, I think that there's a lot of injuries that these guys like. If Eklund's not playing with something that is going to like where he's risking like, serious damage with, then like these guys, it's a contact sport. These guys play banged up all the time. Right? So I mean,
feel
if
you.
it's
But
so I like
it's game 5.
I know,
You know what I
know.
mean?
But you can't just bubble wrap everyone either, though.
So, really? They do in the NFL. If you play quarterback. Anyway.
Yeah, well.
And so in this one, mark it down. Blackwood gets yanked, and it's just the 5th game of the season. The PK goes out the window. 4 of Winnipeg's goal comes on the power play, and that was all they would need to win the game. Former Sharks legend Nemestikov scores a goal. But so far, between those games, that's the second game that Gushin played in, and through those 5 games, that's when the Sharks coincidentally have scored the most, is when Gushin is in the lineup. Take that for what you will. But in the post game, Nico Sturm was like, fuck, do you want to be sent to Edmonton as a color analyst? Because he's not mincing words. He's like,
yeah, I mean, how could you he went from, you have to remember, Nico Sturm came here from a
Colorado,
Stanley
dude.
Cup winning team.
Yeah.
Right. And then signed here hoping that, I mean, I think he knew it was going to be bad, but probably was hoping it wouldn't be this bad. Like I would be
smacking around my agent if he told me to do that.
I'd be frustrated. Like I could understand the frustration that this guy must have at this point with how things have gone.
Well, in the aftermath of Winnipeg losing 8-3, Sturm said, "We've had team skates in the morning. We've had optionals. It doesn't make a difference. You have to be ready when the puck drops. Whether you go to bed at 9 p.m. the night before or you stay up till 3 playing video games, nobody really cares as long as you're ready." Now, I don't want to read into, I hate doing the silly speculation, which there's something else regarding speculation we'll get to later, but I don't want to, that seemed a little oddly specific, but I think maybe it's also the case of, maybe it's not oddly specific. Maybe it's not him calling out 1 or 2 guys that are, 3 a.m. playing Fortnite or whatever. Maybe it's a case of he's just like, it's kind of a weird way to say we all need to be on the same page.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's definitely been like situations where guys have probably messed up their careers by spending too much time playing, doing other things other than hockey.
Gambro.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to super read into that, but again, I think at the end of the day, it's
it just seemed a little telling. But I respect him for calling out, the guys, saying we got to be on the same page. Let's be honest, Sturm and Toffoli have that veteran history. They're the ones, to be quite honest. Like Sturm, I wouldn't mind if Sturm and Toffoli were the A's,
Semcast, Jumbo, and Sully are playing Fortnite until 3 a.m. Shit.
But you know what? Celebrini not playing right now, so I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. So anyway, takeaways from this, special teams go back in the dumper. The team defense just blows. It's just, oh my God.
It's bad.
5-on-3s in 3 straight games. It was a decent start those first 3 games. It was like, okay, hey, a little more entertaining, and you can see light at the end of the tunnel. And then these last 3 games, you're just like, it's last year all over again. So it's, and if and I've seen a couple people kind of, try to defend it, saying, well, look, the game against Winnipeg, they didn't have Eklund, they didn't have Smith, they didn't have Celebrini. Well, hey, next man up, guys.
Yeah.
You still can't let in 8. Like, I don't care if you lose that game 2-0, and you can sit there and point that, well, we weren't able to score because Celebrini, Smith, Eklund, like our 3 biggest offensive weapons were out. Okay, then I think maybe you can make that argument.
Yeah, but you let in 8.
Exactly. So it's like, if you're looking at Eklund, Smith, and Celebrini to be your, lines of defense before it gets to Blackwood or Vanacek, we got a problem. We're going to be in big trouble here. Few other notes, takeaways for me this week. Really enjoyed Dan Boyle and Al Stalock on the broadcast so far. At least that's one good Al on the broadcast.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm kidding for now. Warsofsky with this, we need to learn how to win. Dude, do you know how many times that we heard that from Quinn? And it's like, for a guy who's constantly saying last season was last season.
At least we're not resetting the culture anymore.
Oh, that's true. Oh, we don't need more polish.
Yeah, we're not resetting the culture anymore, right? Fuck.
Jesus Christ, dude. In some good news, Bordeleau and Mukhamadullin are now both considered day-to-day with their respective injuries, and Celebrini has started skating again. So
But
again,
it's still week to week.
yeah, but light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So, last week I said, okay, we're not doing that Hero Zero bullshit or tweet of the week unless people really want it back.
People wanted it back.
And people evidently wanted it back. So let's move on. Heroes and zeros. I don't know. Fucks, sucks, bops, flops. I mean, who knows? So for me, my heroes on the week, I'm going to go with Wenberg and Toffoli. And I'm going to give a little bit of a stick tap to Wallman because I started putting this together after Dallas, and then all of a sudden the bar kept getting lower and lower and lower.
Right.
So anyway, those are my heroes for the week. I'm also going to give some hero love to NBCSN for figuring out the colors of the score strip. We talked about it last week where it was like, wait a minute, the Sharks are in teal and the score strip is white. What the hell are you guys doing? Then they figured it out. They had teal background with white, so that was good. But also stick taps to them for showing us a little bit of love tonight. For those of you who might not have seen it, there was a shit ton of people tonight at the game that were all dressed in Super Mario outfits. And there was some speculation, people on Reddit, like, who started this? And a couple different people popped off about it with, and like, what weird fan club is this? Thankfully, our man in Amsterdam, Puck Guy, was at the game and actually spoke to one of the people dressed up, and that came from one of the hockey moms. The point being, though, is Eric got the full scoop on that and put it out on the Teal Town account. And evidently, there was enough people asking about it that the broadcast picked it up and said, here's the story for all you people seeing the people in the Super Mario outfits. So anyway, stick taps to NBC for giving us our cookies, giving us some credit once in a while. We don't deserve credit every once in a while, but hey, when we do, I think it should be deserved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's your hero or heroes for the week?
So my hero is William Eklund for multiple reasons. I think the way he's progressed as a player is just, it's great to see, obviously. And he's kind of like, and I'm going to keep doing this, like the louder the Will Smith talk gets, I'm just going to keep pointing to Eklund and be like, remember what you said about Eklund 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. Stop it. Get some help.
Again, it's 5 games he's played.
Yeah.
Dial it down.
Yeah. So I like, again, I really like what William Eklund's done. I think that he's stepped up his game a lot this year so far. I think he's been really good. And again, yeah, I think it's a good guy to point to remember when we were worried about this guy who again is another similar player, tons of fucking talent that you could see was obviously there.
Dude, does anybody love revisionist history more than us?
Oh, I love it. You know what I mean? So it's like people just need to calm down. It's gonna be fine. Will Smith is gonna be fine. Maybe he's, again, and maybe he goes through a windy road through the AHL to get there. I don't know, but he's gonna be fine regardless. Take a breath.
How many times did Goodrow go down?
Oh, a bunch.
Yeah. So it happens.
A bunch, and he's a guy. He's another like perfect example of sometimes like the AHL goes, because like some guys like, and again, Will Smith and Barclay Goodrow are not the same player, so I don't want to say this like, but some guys put up big numbers in junior and then they come to the NHL or come to pro hockey and they have to change their game because they can't do that anymore. Again, these are not the same players, so I don't want to like make it sound like I'm trying to equate Barclay Goodrow to Will Smith, because if Will Smith turns into Barclay Goodrow, that is a very bad thing.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
That would be horrible.
Right? But sometimes, a guy goes down to the HL and has to figure out how to change his game to stick in pro.
All right. I might have to add like a Taiga to my hero list this week, because he just came in with Eklund was eating his greens today because he was all over kale.
Yeah.
I love me a good pun, man. Any other heroes before we go to zeros?
No, I think that's it. I'm going to do this again.
Small pool.
Listen. But I am going to do this again, because I think one of the comments that from the last show mentioned how like they use it kind of like the hero and zero is kind of like a barometer. So I'm going to do this again when we talk about the Barracuda.
Oh, cool. All right. Zeros for me. I mean, Benning, get off my team. dude was a -5, and I know, okay, chat. I don't want to hear shit about plus minus being any type of a stat. I'm just saying least amount of time on ice among D, and you're still somehow the worst in plus minus. Like, that is some rhetorical talent you got there, especially when Cagnoni is chomping at the bit. And it's like, Benning, you're lucky Vlasic is still out, and that's saying something. And a question that popped in my head: would Ferraro and Ruda be a 3 or 4 on any other team?
No.
This is what I'm saying. So I'm just like, ugh. The other zero for me, like I just gave NBCSN and I gave them their cookies. Again, we call balls and strikes here. You gave us our cookies. We totally appreciate that. But during the intermission, you also posted a score of 888 to 888. Like,
man,
serious.
Zeros the goalies, clearly.
But it's just, I mean, you already lost Brody, right? Like, you decided not to pay Brody's, that's what I'm assuming. We'll talk to Brody later, and maybe he'll, confirm or deny what my assumptions are. But my whole thing is, you look at the economics of RSNs, and we'll get into that in just a second.
Sure.
They're losing money. Mm-hmm. And based on some of the graphics, like the attention to detail, it's kind of like, well, I see where they're trying to make up their money. It's, like, I just don't understand.
Highest scoring first period in AHL history. Yeah, 100%.
But just, I don't understand how that even, like, how many, I'm assuming just one eyeball, but there's one guy who was on graphics, forgot to grab his cup of coffee for a second or do the final check before he published it. And I was just, oh my God. Anyway. Oh, and Felix wanting to give a 0 to either Action Spot or maybe the equipment manager for the Sharks for misspelling Vanacek on his jersey tonight. But you know what the funny part of that whole thing is? Our guys, Mitch, Paul, Justin, all the Jersey bros, they're all about, dude, to watch the fight that is going to happen over getting that jersey at the equipment sale.
No.
Is,
yeah.
chef's kiss. I just want to be there for it. I don't care about getting the jersey. I just want to see the ruckus.
Same. Yeah, fair.
How's your zeros looking this week?
Yeah, so my 0 is going to be Jan Ruda. Again, this is a guy who I have defended a few times on this podcast. I know what Jan Ruda is, right? I don't think that Jan Ruda is a top pairing defenseman by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he's a top 4 defenseman on a contending team, but I do think he's a guy who does play the right way. I know it's so cliche. And I don't hate that he's around. You know, he's a guy who's won a Stanley Cup. It's not a guy that you hate having around for the kids to have around to, you know, to learn from. But man, he's been atrocious. And again, Mario Ferraro is the defenseman who I never question the engine. The engine runs. We know the engine runs. Mm-hmm. But as I always say, who the fuck's behind the wheel? And maybe that's just maybe it's just a really shit pairing, because I don't think that when Mario Ferraro goes and does weird things that, you know, Jan Ruda's probably not the guy you want to bail him out. But yeah, I don't know, man. Jan Ruda's been a big disappointment to me so far this season, and I can't defend him anymore.
So for a guy who earlier admitted he enjoys puns, I just want to say this and see if this works. So what you're telling me is, while Wu-Tang might be for the children, Ruda is not for the kids.
No, not right now.
All right. There's going to be somebody who goes, all right, that wasn't bad. Oh, okay. Let's move on. All right. Look, I hate to say this, but again, elephant in the room, and a lot of it having to, you know, coming from social media. The Brody's replacement, Al.
Okay.
Bruh, I'm rooting for you, man, but you at the very least, you got to get these name pronunciations down. You know, like the pregnant pauses, those are to be expected. You got the jitters. I understand you're trying to get better at this. You can't get guys' names wrong, especially when when you have a whole pronunciation sheet. You can't get stats wrong when you've got the NHL site at your fingertips. Every time he throws to commercial, not every time, but there's definitely been a couple times where it sounded like he wasn't sure if that was what he was supposed to do in the moment. And to be fair, give the guy 20 games, see if we see some improvement. But Sharks social media. And what's funny is I'm sitting here dragging him for the thing that I just did. Sharks social media is not a chill group. And you're getting dragged. Like you said, what a play in the third period, and then had to correct yourself and say it was in the second. And in an interview with Toffoli, it was, what made the San Jose the right fit for you? Like, clearly he forgot to say Sharks. So it's been even today, talking to Toffoli, he was like, there's not a lot of guys that have played for the Sharks and the Kings. There's 32 of them. That seems like a decent amount.
Yeah, that's a decent number.
So, and I understand there's a few guys defending him with the hey, he's human, give him a chance, which I'm absolutely doing. But I don't know, I don't know how I can be clear. I'm not dragging him as a person. It's possible to be a good person while also being poor at the job you have. Look at Dylan Gambrell and Nick Goldobin. Super nice to me in person.
Just getting dragged today.
But I mean, super nice to me in person. The last I looked, not in the NHL. So hopefully half a season from now, we look back at this moment and say, holy crap, did he get way better? And not, that we
feel like you're just trying to send him to the Cool and Red Star with the rest of them. Just with the names you brought up.
But I want to make us get to the end of the season and we're going, he's gotten way better versus, is this guy ever going to improve? It's just, oh. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, he has big shoes to fill. Obviously,
they're huge.
They're big shoes to fill. I try to be nice. I mean, again, I'm probably the worst guy for this conversation because I don't care about intermission. I've said this multiple times.
But see, and that's the whole thing is I'm seeing a lot more posts now on social. They're going like, Brody could be cringe from time to time, and I think you could say that on just about anybody who does pre and post for the most part. Not everybody is beloved. Who's that guy from Boston, Jack Edwards or something?
Yep.
Like the world's biggest homer. Like he gets dragged on the regular,
Sure.
but he gets people chatting. But Brody, there is a lot of love for Brody. There's definitely a few people that are just kind of like, oh, he can be a bit of a homer from time to time or whatever. Well, it's like,
That's the job now, though.
exactly. It's part of the job. But you know what? I don't remember Brody screwing up names and making these small mistakes. Not to say that he didn't when he first started. I'm just saying, Al, I'm here. I'm rooting for you. Just get in your reps, practice offline. You'll get there. But you can't be upset when people are dragging you right now because it's not personal. They're just talking about the product. Nick in the super chat.
Yeah, it's good. I was just gonna say we gotta hit that before it gets too far off.
Can't watch another Mario Ferraro shift. How the fuck is this guy next in line for the captaincy with all his brain dead turnovers? Jesus Christ. Well, I guess what I just said about Al was like really nice.
Again, it's one of the. He's the guy where I don't question the effort. I don't question the motor. I just don't think there's anyone behind the wheel.
That, and again, it's my whole thing is the deployment. It's like I've always thought he's been given way too much responsibility than what he.
I just look at the rest of this blue line. What are they supposed to like? There's just this blue line's garbage.
Yeah, right. Name pronunciations like Fonseca announcing Colleen Graff last night. Well, you know what? For the people that mute the broadcast, I don't know. When I'm at a Barracuda game, I'm not even paying attention to what Fonseca's saying. Yeah, I'm too busy shooting shit and whatever. But and I see somebody mentioning Ramey. I loves me some Ramey. He's been on our podcast. We've watched hockey together. The only thing that I can say, and I think most people would admit to this. He's employed by the Sharks audio network. The Sharks are paying his check.
Correct.
So fairly unfair or unfairly, his bias will always be questioned because of who's cutting the check. That's going to happen. Brody was paid by NBC. So anyway, for those who don't like the new guy, who knows how long he's going to be around, because Gary Bettman earlier all but admitted that everything is kind of going the streaming way. And it all sounds like by the end of the decade, if not sooner. We've already seen this from Anaheim, I believe Dallas, Vegas. I want to say maybe Florida. There's another Sunbelt team, I believe, that's in on this. But we're also seeing that, the Sharks, for whatever reason, still have like 3 years left on their ridiculously long deal with NBC Sports. By then, by the end of this, all the RSNs are, and from awful announcing earlier this week, it said, in a major play to modernize its local sports offerings, NBC Universal is reportedly going to make its 4 NBC Sports regional networks available to Peacock subscribers in those markets. So it's sounding like, unfortunately, it's going to be geo-locked, but that will include,
because that's what they pay for, though, right? Like that's gonna be geo-locked because it has to be that they paid for the regional rights. They didn't pay for the national rights. That's just the way that works.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait a minute. I'm noticing a couple cool comments here I want to get to.
Yeah.
Kat saying, not the guy's fault for whose shoes he had to fill in. Yep, sure. I don't even watch the intermission or post-game reports anymore. Dude, I'm getting there myself. It's to the point where I'll leave it on in the background and I'm doing other shit, but then I hear something and it just makes me go, ugh, how do you say it like that? And I used to do that with Curtis Brown, though. Every time he would say something, what was it? The power play isn't doing well. Why? Because, but every time he would do that why because thing, I would like start to have a nervous tick. It was
right.
Oh, it was so annoying to me. Ryan saying Brody has a way of talking to longtime fans and newbies in a way that doesn't dumb things down or be overly technical in explaining what has happened.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Sempcast here. Pucknologists are the new first intermission on NBC next year.
I swear too much to be on any
That's true. I mean, I can temper
FCC
that.
regulated broadcast.
I can temper that. What does
You
that mean
could.
for Randy? The Sharks will, pay for Randy's lunch no matter what's going on.
We'd have
He's-
to bring Hockey Jerk back. Actually, I just realized something. I wouldn't be allowed to do it. I don't have a green card.
Right?
I can't work in the United States. Fuck, I'm gone. I just got here and I'm already gone.
Oh shit. No, Randy would be fine. He's the gold standard. But anyway, back to the announcement. What's looking to be on Peacock is NBC Sports Bay Area and Sports California, which for those of you who don't know is the Sharks, the Warriors, and the Giants, formerly the Athletics. NBC Sports Boston, NBC Sports Philadelphia. So per the Wall Street Journal, Peacock could begin streaming these RSNs as soon as 2025, which for those of you without a calendar is just a couple months away. The rollout could be delayed as details are ironed out, of course. One potential plan that NBC executives are discussing is to make the networks available at an additional price through a Peacock add-on. So I don't know if that means like if you pay a couple bucks, you can break the geo lock.
No, that never means that.
That's so annoying. Well, and then they wonder why there are so many pirate sites, It's like, just let me pay my, my $10 a month or whatever and watch all the fucking hockey I want to watch,
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's getting silly. It's not as silly up here. I think now, like, we have the Amazon Prime game that's on Prime now up here.
But it's like
for the most
Prime,
part-
ESPN Plus, this,
right,
fucking
exactly.
stop it.
It's dumb, right? Like they didn't learn any lessons from like why piracy was so rampant before. Like no one's
Dude.
pirating music anymore. Why? Because Spotify exists, iTunes exists, whatever, right? You pay one subscription, all the music you could want, regardless of where your thing is. But like for television, people stopped pirating movies. Why? Because everything was on Netflix. But then everyone's like, well, fuck, why is Netflix making all this money? We want to make a streaming service. And now everyone, like, piracy is going back up. Why? Because again, it's like you said, you want to watch a league. Like I think the NHL isn't as bad as other leagues from what I understand.
No.
Like from what I understand, like football's on like 6 different streaming services now.
Yeah, it's so stupid, and it's just this idea of, if I want to watch, there's going to be 6 Sharks games, I need ESPN Plus to watch, and then there's going to be 4 other games that I need this to watch, and it's no, we just need to get to a point. Like, you look at what the Sharks did with the preseason games, where you could just log onto the website and it was there. You could stream it from there, and that's it. It's just that simple. You put in your advertisements. That's how you're going to make your money. But because the balance is the price has to be good enough where it's going to get people to watch. Maybe cut some cords. Who knows? I mean, I used to have DirecTV a couple years ago, had it for 15 years or whatever. And finally I got tired of them, trying to hike my rate every year. And then we'd have to do the dance where I call them up and talk to them for an hour, threaten to leave. And all of a sudden they can find a promotion that they couldn't find 20 minutes earlier. Right. And finally get it. And then finally I just had enough and they weren't willing to play ball. And I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm just going to go to YouTube TV, because the one thing that I was really holding on to DirecTV for was NHL Network TV. And it's, like, I would like to watch that from time to time, but it's just become that whole thing of like, well, fuck, that's what social media is for. If I want to go look at highlights and everything like that, fine, I'll do that.
Cable. Oh my God. It's probably been like 7 years since I've had cable.
See? And it's, and it's out of sight, out of mind. As long as you, and especially with all the pirate ships that there are to hop aboard. The other thing that our buddies over at Let's Go Blues Radio pointed out, in St. Louis, Bally Sports is becoming FanDuel Sports Network. And how fast does that thing, like, if Fanatics isn't going to own everything, why wouldn't now, it's going to be what network are you, instead of Bally's or Fox Sportsnet or Comcast Sportsnet
Yeah.
or NBC Sportsnet, now it's going to be FanDuel Sportsnet or DraftKings Sportsnet. It's all going to be fucking gambling. And the thing that's going to
Nonstop.
suck, dude, is you have got those score strips, but dude, there's going to be like, you can see it on our cast right now. We've got the slow crawl that has the scores of each game and who scored. It's just going to be a constant stream of advertising of like,
Of just odds.
yeah, odds. Here's the odds on who's going to score the next goal. Will it be San Jose? Will it be Colorado? Use this app to bet on it right now,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it sucks. I mean, it sucks that they didn't like they learned zero lessons from, because it sucks. And like even like NHL TV now, like before that was its own thing, right? But now up here, like they rolled it into their Sportsnet Plus package. So instead of it being $100 for the year, it's like $2 something a year. It's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
they
I
keep-
wanted, but also I wanted the ability to watch games after the fact, so that if a game was on too late, because I do work early in the morning now, that I could go back and like watch it the next day. So I'm like, well, I guess I have to pay this year. But
yeah,
man,
it's so ridiculous. And what's funny is Felix saying, I look forward to AJ ranting about how AI has taken over sports and everything else. I already did that rant because I think it was ESPN said that they're going to start using AI to generate game wraps. And it's just, oh, I can't, there still be copy edited. Yeah, sure. Anyway, speaking of pricing out the average fan, sampling with the Sharks was announced. $500 per person. That's twice what it was a decade ago.
oh,
Now look, it's great to raise money for a good cause. And
yeah. That was my next question. I mean, this is for a good cause, correct?
yeah, so if people can shell out 500 shekels to have a little bit of wine, have access to auctions where they can spend more money, and and rub shoulders with a couple Sharks, because you're not allowed to get anything signed or anything like that. You can take some photos, but look, it's for a good cause, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I know a lot of times that I kind of point out certain things, and and people think, oh, AJ, he's so negative, he's shitting on everything. No, my whole thing is, this is a great cause. It raises money. My whole thing when I see this is, where's the event for the blue collar crowd? They're the ones that are always there for you. They're not the one, like, I understand you want to, kind of woo that corporate dollar, that elite money. I get that. But more and more on social, talking to people, I keep hearing fans lament that they are being priced out. And then you look at what Utah did with their family-friendly pricing, which was like fucking awesome. So I'm like, why not bowling with the Sharks again? That was a lot of fun. Or how about, taking over a tipsy putt or an urban putt where you just mini golf with the guys. And that's a family-friendly thing. Kids aren't allowed to come to a sampling. So
That's true. Yeah, it sucks. I mean, again, it's something I can speak to, because obviously not being local, but I mean, it's an increasing thing that you hear up here too. Just, unfortunately, fans being priced out of things.
It's ridiculous. All right, let's move on to some around the league type shit. Dude, we got a goalie goal. Gustafsson scores a power play goal for the Wild against the Blues. The last power play goal scored by a goalie, Nabokov. Can you believe that? Like, Brodeur scored, but it was delayed.
Yeah.
But there's a
I mean,
and then
it's good, right? And I read the best tweet after that. It's like a goalie goal being just awesome is like the last thing we're all going to agree on as a society.
You're not wrong. Oh man. The other thing I wanted to ask, what is your biggest surprise of the NHL so far? Is it's like the slow start from Edmonton and Vancouver and Nashville and Colorado, or
I think Nashville surprises me a little bit, like,
or Calgary being out of the gates early?
No, nothing. Like teams coming out hot never surprises me because it's an 82 game season, right? So I think things are going to fall back down to earth. I think Nashville's going to be fine eventually, but they brought in a lot of different pieces this year, so I think it's going to take time for it to kind of mesh together. But like UC Saros isn't going to be bad all year, and eventually they're gonna figure their shit out, I think. I mean, I don't think that Nashville's like this cup contender by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not this bad.
I mean, 0-5. Like, they literally have no points. The Sharks have 2 points.
Yeah.
Like, and Nashville was, I think there's a couple people that had them, like playing in the conference final.
Mhm.
So you're kind of going, and then again, though, the thing, Edmonton got off to such a slow start. And for me, of course, I'm going, did we all forget what happened a year ago?
Right. Like if we didn't just, yeah, exactly. And I think that's why, like the Edmonton thing, I'm not really surprised because I didn't think they had a particularly great preseason. I think there was like some stuff going on in the preseason games where like, oh, that might be concerning once the puck drops for real. But again, there's you bet on talent. You always bet on talent, and there's too much talent on that team for them to just, be they're not going to be a team that's going to be in the lottery this year. They're going to figure it out. Yeah, they'll be slow, and hopefully it doesn't cost another coach's job, but they'll figure it out.
I was going to say, do you got anybody who's like the favorite on your list to a bench boss to get canned first this year?
I mean, the problem with that is like I feel like everyone's been fired.
Yeah, like everybody's so new. Tortorella?
I think the Flyers I think have been okay.
I mean,
Haven't they been?
they have one
what
win.
are they at?
They have one win.
They have
in
one
5
win, eh?
games.
Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, they're
Ooh,
bottom of the
Flyers. What's going on?
bottom of the Metro.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe, but I don't think
can't.
so. I think
You can't do shit in Columbus because of the horrific tragedy they dealt with.
and Columbus is a team again that there's no expectations there.
But I feel like
now granted that didn't save David Quinn, but
yeah,
there's
like
no expectations there.
Flyers had a little bit of expectation. I don't know.
I mean, like the guys that are tenured at this point, like are just guys that it'd be impossible to see. Like guys that have been the tenured guys at this point. You're like your John Cooper's in Tampa. Tampa's fine so far. I mean, they've come out to a pretty good start. Colorado is obviously Jared Bednar in Colorado would be an interesting one, but again, like we talked about them at the top of the show. This is a team that's pretty banged up. They know their goaltending's kind of a mess.
Dude, Semcast with the hottest of hot takes. What about Warsofsky?
No. Again, like here's the problem.
I would
right?
say no if he wasn't part of the previous regime.
So here's the problem. There's a little team in Buffalo. They're called the Sabres. And
So you say, but I never see this team ever do anything.
Right. And so they like Jack Eichel had more coaches than years on that team. That's not the model you want in San Jose.
That is true. God. Anyway, last thing I want to get into before we switch, and this is a little off. Oh, did we ever get a final in the baseball game, by the way?
I'm not paying attention.
But something that I wanted to mention, and this just kind of goes on to some of the things that we've talked about before, but last week, the Dallas Cowboys got their shit pushed in by the Detroit Lions. Like, it was brutal. And it was on the owner's 82nd birthday. So evidently, Jerry Jones, the Cowboys owner, has he's part of a radio show, the Monday Morning Quarterback or whatever the hell it is, but some, sports station in Dallas. Anyway, Jerry Jones essentially like threatened the guy's job when he was asked some tough questions. Like, it's like he just saw his team get blown out of the building in epic
on
proportions.
his birthday too, right?
Yeah. And so he basically, like, I guess Chief asked him a couple questions he didn't like, and Jerry Jones responded with something along the lines of, hey, maybe I need to just get somebody else over at that station to ask me questions or some shit like that. Shannon Sharp, Shannon Sharp came out and called out Jerry Jones for that, because it's like, the guy's doing his job. If you don't want to answer the
Correct.
question, don't answer the fucking question, but don't act like a little bitch about it. And it's like shit like this. It's literally why fans are flocking to podcasts and platforms that don't have a tie to the franchise.
Well, this is why I don't watch. This is why I don't watch intermission.
Thank you.
This is why I don't watch intermission, because, like, you know, I've said this a billion times too. Like, the reason you used to watch intermission was because that's when that's when you heard all the hot NHL rumors and shit, right? But now we have Twitter, so we don't need to wait for intermission to get the rumors. Like, so all intermissions become now, especially for a regional broadcast, is state media. It's just fucking state media talking points. Why the fuck do I want to watch that?
Yeah, it's exactly it. And I remember, the thing that really gets me is I remember there was Curtis Brown got super super, well, I don't want to say emotional, but he was just like, well, like he finally showed some emotion, and he seemed to be angry because, the Sharks had gone like 0 for 25 on the power play. And then, he had finally decided to acknowledge the elephant in the room instead of going, well, they're doing good things. And blah, blah. Maybe they just don't have the fucking talent, maybe they don't have the horses to run this race. And so he got, for finally coming out and acknowledging reality, a whole bunch of love on social media going, good to see Curtis, show some emotion, but be honest.
Yeah.
And so that's, again, I'm not here to rip every little thing for the sake of ripping or appearing to be real or whatever. When I see some good things, like how I spoke of Wallman last week or Wenberg and Toffoli this week, I'm going to mention those positives, but I'm not going to ignore those elephants. And sadly, some writers have mentioned that if they're too critical, they've actually been threatened that their access would be revoked. And so when I hear shit like that, like, how do you not admit that, okay, you might be a little state media? And what's funny is Remenda all but came out and said that, when he was between gigs. And said, that's the deal now. It's to pump. Your job is to pump the tires. I hate it.
100%.
But that's what it is. And I think that's one of the reasons why podcasts like ours actually get some decent numbers, because we're honest. We can call out the good, but we call balls and strikes. We're not here to pump tires for the sake of doing it,
100%.
All right. Tweet of the week, man. Haven't done it in a while. And this is something else that we've talked about before in certain platforms. I'm going to be a little ranty. I'm going to be a little pissed off here. BR Open Ice. Do you have any idea who BR Open Ice is? They've got like 125,000 followers, so clearly a lot of people do.
Bleacher Report, aren't they?
Okay, Bleacher Report. Okay, that just goes to show you how much I read Bleacher Report. But Bleacher Report takes the tweet that we had that Eric had put together, explaining why there were all these fans at the Sharks game tonight in Super Mario outfits. Now, Bleacher Report has a couple options: ignore it, or retweet the tweet that
no one retweets anymore.
And that's my thing. But retweet the original tweet that Teal Town had, amplify the story, or you basically copy what Eric put, paste it, do it as your own tweet, but then at the bottom you do this little acknowledgement. Fuck you.
I mean, at least they acknowledged.
No. See, I don't give them credit for that. And two of the reasons why. First off, they acknowledged Max Miller. Now, I don't have any issues with Max Miller at all, but I don't understand why they acknowledged him. He didn't have anything to do with anything that was written there.
He had tweeted something out.
And so did Pashelka, and so did Shang, and so did people that were at the game, so did people on Reddit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, why they credited Max for explaining why all of this was happening, I have no idea. And again, Max, when he deserves his cookies, I'll be the first one in line to give him his cookies. He did not break this. But Teal Town, we don't break things very often. So when we do, it's nice to get the acknowledgement. But this, this is the kind of thing that I hate. And I see this happening more and more and more is, a local beat writer will take a tweet and they'll fashion it into their own tweet or into their own article rather than just hitting retweet and moving on.
It's just, I don't know. It's just not the way it's done anymore.
And to me, that's bullshit. Again, we're not going to be the first to break things. When it happens, it's pretty goddamn rare. So I would think that, our little account, what we do here, it'd be nice. And so earlier, again, like I gave stick taps to NBCSN and Randy for pointing it out. Like we were the ones that, Teal Town was the account that had this. Again, Eric is the one that had all this information.
Correct.
So it's like Eric should have gotten all the cookies on this, not Bleacher Report Open Ice, not Max Miller, not to say that those accounts aren't awesome and great and deserve all the cookies that they do deserve, but I just hate seeing this, and I'm seeing it more and more and more. People, it's borderline plagiarism, to be honest.
That's why Twitter sucks.
Yeah. And it's just getting more and more like that. So
yeah, I mean, stick taps to Puck Guy for
absolutely
doing the work.
But if you want to be respected, just retweet people. Don't fucking copy paste this shit and try to make it your own with this little acknowledgement at the bottom. It's not cool. Anyway, let's move on to something that is cool.
Ooh, Barracuda.
Yaroslav motherfucking Askarov.
Yeah, great. So good.
Go ahead, man.
So hot right now.
So hot. It's
so
yeah.
hot
What's the meme? What's the Will Ferrell meme? He's so hot right now.
So hot right now. Oh my god.
Barracuda 3-1-0. Let me just do the highlights and then you can dive in.
Absolutely.
Another 5-0 rout for Askarov and the Cuda in their home opener yesterday. Both myself and Puck Guy were there. Ran into Danny Heatley. Thankfully, we didn't need to ride anywhere.
Good.
If you know, you know. Donovan Ole with 2 goals. Anthony Vincent with the game winner. 2 shorties scored in this one. And Cagnoni getting his first in the A on the power play. And Askarov turns aside 26 while the Cuda pumped 42 onto Jesper Wallstedt. Late in the game, dude, Cuda fans were chanting, let's go Wallstedt. I mean, highly touted goalie prospect, or at least he was until this weekend. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he still is, right? I think it's easy to look at a guy he did not have a good weekend by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's one of those things where it's really easy to take like a snippet of what you see because that's the team in front of you, and then you don't watch the team for the rest of the year. It's easy to say, well, that guy's clearly garbage. I don't know what the hype is there. But I think despite the bad weekend, I think that Jesper Wallstedt's the real deal, and I think he'll be fine. He'll bounce back.
And to Eric's credit, he's saying that he believes that the photo was courtesy of Max. So okay, then I'm fine with it. I was just trying to figure that whole thing out. So anyway, Askarov, back-to-back 5-0, or 5+ goal shutout. Then the second game played earlier today. Cagnoni scores yet again, also grabs an apple. 14 different Barracuda made the score sheet. Wallstedt allows 5 or more goals in back-to-back games and got pulled to start the third. In 4 games so far for the Barracuda, including earlier today, Bestead and Ole with 5 points in 4 games. Cagnoni and Graff with 4 points in 4 games. In 4 games, defenseman Braden Heish, I hope I'm getting that right, he's the only Cuda skater that doesn't have a point.
Yeah, that's my 0 for the week.
Jesus Christ. Oh, well, and Nick from the super chat asking, Ian, do you have good things to say about John McCarthy yet?
Look at this team. This team has done really well the last 4 games. There was one game against the Reign, where obviously I think was it the Reign?
Yeah,
Who
the
they played?
second game against the Reign.
Yeah, it was the Reign. Okay, where obviously that wasn't a great game. It looked a lot like last year's team. This team has put a lot of pucks in the net, and it's really nice when they're doing that. This team still takes too many penalties.
Yes.
Right? Like it's fine when it works out like the way it worked out for them this weekend, where it didn't matter how many penalties they took because everything they shot seemed to go in the net. This team still takes way too many penalties, dumb penalties.
And those goals have been coming in bunches too. Like they'll go for like 15 minutes, not even get a look, and then all of a sudden, bam, bam, bam.
Silly, right? Yeah, absolutely silly. But no, look at I mean, I'll give John McCarthy credit where credit is due. His team is 3-1. Like, it's hard to be mad at that right now. I think that, based on I've liked some of the way he's kind of lined people up. Unfortunately, the Sharks lost Tristan Robbins this weekend. Doesn't sound like it's anything serious, but after his injury plague last year, that's not a great sign. My hero of the week, Askarov obviously should be that guy, but I'm going to go a little off the board, and I'm going to go with Philip Bystedt again, because I think this is a guy who has done just a lot of really great things, and I think he is leading the team in points right now, but he does a lot of little things that aren't putting pucks in the net, that helps the Barracuda be in position to do things like that. I've really, really liked his game so far. He's like one of my favorite players on the Barracuda this year, which is good because I think, a couple of guys that really carried I think Cardwell finally got his first point this game. He's been kind of quiet so far. So I think guys like, so when you have kind of some of the bigger guys being quiet, a guy like Philip Bystedt, who's just been really good both ends of the ice. I don't think enough people are talking about how good this kid is.
Well, 2 goals and 3 assists, as with Donovan Oulet, 2 goals, 3 assists. So they both have 5 points in 4 games. But then, so like my hero is, dude, Cagnoni. This kid wants out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think he's like recognizing the fact that there's not a lot of impediments in his way. You know what I mean? It's not like he's playing, below a team where it's like, oh fuck, I got to get through Makar and this good defenseman and this. It's like, oh, I only have to make it through like Ferraro and Thrun and I'll give me another week, I'm there.
Yeah, not even that. I mean, he's also playing to stay in, like I mentioned earlier in the show, like, guys like him and Kasper Halttunen can both be sent back to their junior teams at any point, basically, before the trade deadline of their respective leagues. So he's also playing to staying pro hockey as well, right? And Molasses is giving me shit in the chat. I'm not saying Cardwell's been bad. I'm just saying he's been quiet. Like don't get it twisted. I'm not saying Cardwell's been bad by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that the points haven't been there yet. So it's nice to see other guys able to step up and provide that offense when your leading scorer from last year hasn't so far. I'm not worried about Ethan Cardwell. He's going to be fine. I think Ethan Cardwell is going to be a guy who's going to get games on the Sharks this year if injuries allow for it. I really like Ethan Cardwell. I think he's going to be fine. He's just been quiet so far. That's all.
Well, and you look at the guys that we're all kind of focused on, like, Cardwell only has an assist through 4 games. Same thing with Coe, but then, Tristan Robbins, granted injuries, but dude, he's got a goal and 2 assists in 2 games played.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. But then you look at Halttunen with 3 points in 4 games. Graf, 4 points in 4 games.
Yeah, Colin Graf's another guy who I think deserves a little bit of love, because he was a guy obviously played a lot of games on the Sharks when he came over, started his pro career. The only thing with Colin Graf is I would like to see him make decisions quicker with the puck. I think that's his one thing where I find, like, sometimes even in the AHL, he holds the puck for too long before deciding what he wants to do with it. If he can figure that out, he's going to be a guy, and not a guy in a derogatory way that I usually use it. He'll be a player.
Well, it's just, again, I look at all those names, and what's the one thing that they all have in common is the fact that they don't have the letter D next to it.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that I'm looking for going forward. So, as they say, chicks dig the D. No, is that right?
That's what they say.
So the other thing that came out this week is reportedly Askarov was asked to tone down the cellies. And I get it. He grabs the net, pulls it down after the shutout in Ontario. And, last night after he got it, did the kind of,
it's like right back.
Yeah, does the kind of holding the glove to the ear, a little bit of the bow and arrow kind of a thing. And like, look, do you? That's awesome. I'm going to hold on to this for a second. So when Ian gets back, I want to get his take on it. But in the interim, Nick asked, with the super chat, thank you. Robbins looked like a different guy when I watched him versus the Reign. I haven't seen a whole lot of Robbins, not nearly as much as I'd like. I do feel like he, I don't want to say he's run out of fucks to give, but I think he's playing a little bit more on the edge than maybe before. So getting back to my point now that Ian's back, Askarov being asked to tone down the cellies after the first game in Ontario, he drops the net. Last night it was hold the glove up to the ear. It was the bow and arrow. Hey, do you? My only thing that I'm going to say about that is, look, if you don't want a guy to bat flip, you don't give up the homer. But
right.
if you stand there admiring the ball instead of running to first, don't be surprised if you get beamed the next time you're at bat. So Askarov, do you? But if you're going to do the Binnington-esque shenanigans, don't be mad if someone runs your ass, like rightly or wrongly. And I get it. It's like you don't want him to celebrate, then score on him. I get that.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of like if you're going to pull shenanigans like that, if you're going to get that rep, you're going to get the Sean Avery treatment at some point. Some guy's going to be waving a stick in your face the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a concern, right? You don't want to see guys start running him, obviously. That would be very upsetting. But like, I just wonder how long they can keep this guy in the Barracuda. Which is like, I want to be excited about the Barracuda, but I'm like, this isn't gonna last. Like, the reason why, the reason why, like, he's a big part of the reason they're doing so well, right? And I think Romanov had a really good game, but you can see like the difference between him and Romanov is like he handles the puck so much better. Like the shots on goal are so much fewer when Askarov starts the game, because he controls the puck better. He doesn't give up. Like he controls the puck better. There's not as many rebounds getting kicked out. Like he's a big part of the reason why the shots are so few when he's playing versus Romanov, who I like a lot.
Blackwood and Vanacek are both on. This is the last year of their deal. Yeah. So it seems like pretty obvious. Like if you can get one of those guys, Blackwood or Vanacek, on a heater and give them some value and move them out, to get something solid back, and then boom, Askarov right in there.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Take those reins. Any final things about the CUDA before we move on?
Nope.
All right, so make sure to follow Teal Town USA, and remember Ian Reed and Sharks Jewels and Kevin Lacey all on Twitter. They got live tweets going, occasional gifts during most Barracuda games, especially when they don't occur at the same time a Sharks game is happening.
It was crazy today. Like the goals today like came in spurts where it was like you had like 3 goals in like a minute and a half, and then there was like 5 goals in 2 minutes. It was silly.
It was ridiculous. So coming up this week for the Sharks, they play at Anaheim. There's a little timing quirk in that. It's one of those,
Give me a sec. I gotta grab my dog and kill him. He's barking at everything.
Yeah. The Sharks are going to play at Anaheim. It's one of those timing quirk things where it's, they start every 15 minutes from whenever to whenever. I forget what they called that. If somebody in the chat can tell me what that is. All I know is that they're not starting at a normal time. Looks like to be 6:45 instead of like 7. But it's at Anaheim, at LA, at Vegas this week. First time I think I can remember in over a decade that the Sharks are actually playing in Southern California against the Southern California teams back to back. I think the last time that happened was, I don't know, during the Bush administration. I don't know. But I mean, it should be a regular thing. But anyway, remember to check out After Dark following every one of those Sharks games. And aside from that, we will catch you next Sunday. Probably have our first. Actually, I'm not here next Sunday. I am. I forget what they call that. On assignment. Yeah, I'm on assignment.
On assignment.
Yeah. So it's going to be Ian and somebody else, perhaps Jewels. But then when we come back from that, then we'll have our first giveaway to hand out. Remember to like and subscribe. Help keep us commercial free by using the super chat option, like a couple people did tonight. Again, want to acknowledge those folks. So again, Darius and Nick, thank you so much for your donations tonight.
Yes.
Better yet, use Venmo if you can. That way Google doesn't take like 35% of the money. You can find links to our social media, podcast apps, and more included in the show notes, and find everything on tealtownusa.com. All right, so Anaheim, LA, and Vegas. I mean, just based on history and what has happened, I mean, we did see Colorado come back against Anaheim the other night. I mean, out of those 3 games, I would think that Anaheim is the most likeliest to perhaps procure a win for Team Teal.
You would think. I don't think Anaheim's a particularly good team. They do have Anaheim has good pieces, but they're not there yet.
But it seems one of their big pieces is Dostal in net.
Yeah, I'm a big Dostal guy. He's good. I think he's I don't think they can offload
Gibby.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, I'm drawing a blank here for a second. Yeah, I just I don't think they can, once they get out of that John Gibson contract, which I think is last year, Dostal's going to be their guy. When this team is good, it's going to be Dostal's going to be a big part of the reason for it. So who knows? Do we get Luke Dostal or do we get their backup? Be interesting to see.
So, yeah, I'm thinking, if you have a chance to win
I find,
game.
you know what though, they always I find the Sharks always play the Kings hard, regardless of how good or bad those teams are. They always seem to get up for those games. So that might be a sleeper game.
So it's a 4-game road trip that they're embarking on. So Anaheim, LA, Vegas, and eventually Utah. So first time ever versus the Salty Dogs, I guess is what we're calling them. Can they go 0 for October again? I mean, you're halfway there, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I hope. This sucks.
It does, but
Sucks.
those first 3 games were a bit more entertaining, and the last 3 were just like, oh fuck, just like last year. So
I feel like Colorado, the game we watched tonight was a step back in the right direction. Low bar, I agree, but it was a step back in the right direction. I want to see them play a good game against the Ducks and the Kings though, because I think those are games that you should get up for regardless of situation, right? And Vegas too.
Well, and who doesn't want to see Hurdle again?
That's true. It's never going to be weird it's never going to be not weird for me to see him in that jersey.
And there's been I've seen a little talk here and there from whether it's Granger or Sinbin talking about how Hurdle hasn't looked Hurdle-esque so far starting. He's got a slow start so far, so we'll see how that rolls. Maybe, is he a sleeper agent?
Maybe. I don't know. I think they've got guys. The guys that they have rolling though, I mean, they could do damage.
Yeah. Let's before we get out of here, let's hit up Brycar 75. Thank you for the donation. Love the show. Hope Sharks win a game this month. I mean, yeah, just one would be nice.
Yeah, I just I'm not picky, man. Just win a game.
Yeah, we'll go full rat over.
Again, look at we know this year isn't different. The song this year isn't different than last year, right? You don't need to win a bunch of games, but just win one once in a while just to, make
Keep
me
my
happy. And
interest
don't,
peaked.
yeah, and then and don't tear apart the Barracuda to do it, who are actually worth watching right now.
Yeah, that's it. Like, at least have one of these franchises that is fun to watch, because they both were quite difficult last season.
Yeah, and that's my concern, is like we're just like, one guy is not going to come up here and save this thing. So
Yeah. So remember, like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and we will catch you in some way, shape, or form. Again, I'm out next week, but Ian will be here with
I will be
somebody
here.
next Sunday, 7 p.m. per usual. So good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a pleasant tomorrow.